Hello, and welcome to our podcast with Celeste Valdivia. And
Diana Villanueva.
today we have a very important topic.
I don't know if you guys can tell by our background, but we will be discussing the Texas and U.S. Constitution.
Why is it so important to discuss this topic?
It's important because it establishes organization. It also limits the power of the government, so it ensures that the rights of the citizens are always protected. Now, we're going to start off by saying that they definitely do have a lot in common.
That's right. They both protect individual rights, they both contain a Bill of Rights, and they both set up a government with three branches, which are the executive, legislative, and judicial branches.
Do the branches of the government of both the U.S. and Texas Constitution differ from each other?
Well, both the US and Texas Constitution have the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, as mentioned. The only difference is that for the US, the president is the head of the executive branch, and for Texas, the governor is the head of the executive branch. Now, what is the role of the Bill of Rights?
The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. This guarantees civil rights and liberties to the individual.
And what specific rights does the Bill of Rights guarantee to the citizens?
Some of the specific rights are the freedom of expression, freedom of religion, the right of assembly, and the right to bear arms.
And what do the three branches consist of?
They consist of the legislative branch, in which the laws are made by Congress, and these are compromised by the House of Representatives and the Senate. It consists of the executive branch, which carries out the laws by the president, vice president, the cabinet, and most federal agencies, and the judicial branch, which evaluates laws, and these are done through the Supreme Court and other courts.
The Texas Constitution contains 6 principles that are found in the US Constitution, and those 6 principles are the popular sovereignty, limited government, separation of powers, checks and balances, federalism, and protection of individual rights.
Tell me more about popular sovereignty.
Based on the consent of the people, it's based on the consent of the people, gives people the right to vote.
What about limited government?
Limited government is pretty much self-explanatory. The government is limited in power.
And what about the separation of powers?
The separation of powers are the 3 branches of government that we mentioned, which were the executive, legislative, and judicial branches.
And what does the checks and balances mean?
It prevents any one branch from becoming too powerful.
What about federalism?
Those are the powers, when the powers are divided between a national government and regional government.
And what about the protection of individual rights?
That means that the people's rights cannot be revoked, removed, nor voided.
But they also have some differences. The US Constitution has not been rewritten.
That's right, it hasn't been rewritten. Unlike the Texas Constitution, that has been rewritten 7 times.
Really? Which ones were the previous ones?
The previous 6 were the 1827 Constitution of the State of Coahuila in Texas, the 1836 Constitution of the Republic of Texas, and different versions of the Constitution of Texas for the years 1845, 1861, 1866, and 1869. But our current Constitution is a Texas Constitution of 1876.
So both the US and Texas have different preambles. The US preamble starts with the words, "We the people," and this is a brief introduction of the Constitution's fundamental purposes and guiding principles. Texas begins with, "Humbly invoking the blessing of Almighty God, the people and the state of Texas."
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. We would love to hear more. Maybe we can listen to it after we're done with the podcast, but we only have a few seconds left.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast.
We upload a new podcast every Thursday at 9 a.m., so be sure to tune in. Bye.